Hey Belle Property, Frank here, the CEO of Campaign Track and Realhub, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the Belle Property listing presentation tool through the Realhub platform. Now, before I dive in and show you my screen, I really want to provide a little bit of context. Today's session is about the overarching idea, how we're going to use the tool within your business, the number of different templates we have, and finally, the training as a holistic view on how to utilize it. Now, I want you to understand that beyond this, there are going to be individualized videos, which you can then look down how to add every single element in the proposal. This really is, as I mentioned, a holistic view so that you can watch one video and get a fairly good understanding of how the system works. Now, before I go in, I want to talk about the three key reasons why you want to be using this type of tool in your business. Now, before I even get to those, I want you to understand that this is a tool that is complimentary for your offices. It's included in the Realhub campaign fee. So there's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't want to implement this in your business. And some of those top performing offices, like let's call it the DY network, are using this on scale in their business. It's great to look inside their account and see how many proposals they're putting out. And that's something that I'm sure Brendan will want to talk about at a later stage. We might even get him in to talk about how he uses it in his video. Now, back to those three key things about this tool. Really, there's three elements. Number one is the ability to track data. So when you send out these proposals, you're going to be able to see what level of engagement people have for when they open these up, because they're digital. And that's why you want to move away from a PowerPoint, a Publisher, an Illustrator, something like that. You want to get the insight as to how are people opening these up and how are they interacting with your presentations. Secondly, we want to make sure that these presentations look beautiful and are on brand. That is the key. When you're competing with 2 or 3 other agents in your area, the beauty here is Belle Property is such a beautiful brand. There's a lot of effort and energy and detail went into these proposals. So you're really going to stand out from the rest. And that's why you want to be using this, because of how good looking it is. The third and final reason is the customization. Now, Belle Property is a great network. It is big and it is growing. So the reality is we can't just make one proposal template suit every single office and every single agent. So what we've done is made sure customization is at the core. So throughout the presentation, you're going to see that I can move sections up and down, I can change imagery, I can turn off sections, and that's going to give you the ability to own your own proposal. Because the reality is you might have a different sales approach when you're inside the living room. So really for us, we just want to make sure it works for you, and then moving forward, you can have it the same way over and over again. So hopefully that gives you enough context on those 3 different elements. I'm going to dive on in and share my screen with you, and I'll give you the high level run through, and we'll talk about it now. So what you're looking at is the Realhub dashboard on my screen. Noticing this has all been laid out here. When you log in as an agent, you'll see all of your properties, and those properties will feed through from the CRM. That's important, and that is the best possible practice. Your properties should always be in your CRM, because therefore you're going to have the same data flow through. It's going to make your life easier. It's also going to mean that every appraisal is in your CRM, which is best possible practice. Now, I won't worry about it too much, but I do want you to understand that this tool can completely be used on any device. So what you'll notice on the left-hand side here, I have my little phone simulator. Understanding everything I'm going to show you today, creating a proposal, can be done from your mobile. And the idea there is it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter when you get that call, you can put together something really, really quick. So I'll hide that for now, and we'll go through the creation process. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to say create proposal. Now, if you notice here, there's all these properties. You would just jump into one if this has flowed through from your CRM. My account doesn't have a CRM integration, so I'm just going to create one from scratch. That's also nice and simple. So I say create. What do we want to do? Of course, we want to create a proposal. I then put in an address. What is the property that I'm going to do an appraisal for today? So I search that property. I connect it with the data supplier. Important to understand, we use Price Finder and or CoreLogic, depending on which one your office prefers. I then choose my office. So if you're connected, let's say it's Belle Property DY and you have a connection to Belle Property Monavale, you'll see multiple offices, multiple agencies in here. And finally, we choose our agent. I'm of course going to choose myself. I say create proposal, and then it takes me to the next step. Now, this is something that I really want to emphasize for you today. This is not just a proposal tool, and this is the importance about being part of the Belle Property Network, is because we've invested multiple different templates to create what we consider a digital strategy, which means that each and every time you are having a touch point in your database, you have a template that's going to relate to that. So what I mean by that is, let's say part of your process that you want to start implementing in your business is immediately upon that phone call finishing, you want to send out a pre-list. And this, Tom Panos said best is, the speed is the new currency. So really you want to get that pre-list out to them within a minute. So what you'll notice here on my right-hand side is I have all my different templates from proposals, pre-lists, price updates, rentals, all these different kinds. Let me grab the pre-list. So here I'll grab the 2021 pre-list. I click on it and you'll notice there's just 3 to 4 sections that can simply be filled in, or you don't even need to worry about it. So what I'll do, just to show you the speed in which we can get these out, is I will say share, and then here I turn on my share link. This is my client link, which we'll go into in more detail when I talk about the proposal, but I just want to copy this link and send it to my client. Now my client will be myself over here on my mobile phone. We'll go here and paste and go, and now you're going to notice it's done my pre-list. That quickly I can send it out to the client, and that is all about how the speed in which we can get it out. Remember, the pre-list does not need to be customized. It's more about your brand, your business, the Belle Property difference. These are the keys, and so this is the speed in which you want to be sending it out. It's tailored to you. It can talk about your case studies, your comparisons, all those kinds of things, and so that's the kind of idea around the speed in which we want to get it out. So what I'll do now is I'll move on to the next touch point. So let's say we've finished that pre-list. We can then create a proposal, right? Now, what I've done is I brought my templates back up and I'm swapping it out to a proposal. What I would encourage you to do is you create a pre-list and then you create a proposal, just so the link doesn't swap out when the vendor's reviewing it on their phone. So what I'll do now is I will talk about the proposal side of things. And this would be the next touch point, where this is now more of a customized approach to this particular vendor. So when I click on the sales proposal 2021, you'll notice it has these individualized sections. And each section relates to what you're going to be able to see in the presentation, in the proposal. Now I want you to understand, this is what I was talking about regarding customization. You don't need to do every section. If you feel you don't want to include pricing, that's totally fine. If you don't want to put in commission, that's totally fine. You get to pick and choose, so don't be alarmed by the different sections and feeling that that's not what you normally do. This is customized. This is meant for you to do your sales approach. So I won't talk about everything, but I will just show you how to interact with certain things. So let's say pricing, simple. What is the estimated value that you believe this home is worth? So let me go and put in here in a figure, hit save, and simply that goes and updates there for this particular proposal. 8.5 million, that's a lot, probably not that much, but of course you can do whatever price. I scroll through, I have things like teams, so who are your other team members if you want to pull through their photos and their bios and descriptions. Testimonials, what kind of testimonials would you like to show? It's very simple. Marketing quotes, so what kind of marketing would you like to show the vendor? So if I click on this, I can then create a new quote. And I definitely recommend you use templates within your business. For me, this is all about speed, right? It needs to be fast for your business because it needs to be for you, the agent, and your teams. You want to get these things out quickly. So here I choose my template. Let's call my template Essentials. I can add that in, and I can also add in multiple. So I can just create a new one here, and that will show the vendor, what would you like? Maybe you call it the gold, silver, bronze, or the different variations, and they can choose which one they prefer. Now, I won't go into detail around adding a marketing quote. That's all available in the library of videos that's there for you. So I'll hit save and we'll keep scrolling. Next is our timeline. If you decide to list with me, Frank, what does the next 4 to 6 weeks look like? Remember, some vendors are not, they've never been through this process. It's their largest asset. You kind of want to start almost giving them a bit of that trial close. You make them feel comfortable with things that are happening. They start really putting timelines in their mind. So it's a really strong thing to do. So you might say, okay, on this Monday, we're going to get the photography shoot. On this Saturday, we're going to be doing your first open, and you're building that timeline and you're slowly working with them in the living room to get comfortable with the whole idea. So here we click on an event. Perhaps the first event is going to be photography, as I mentioned. Now noticing I can free type and add that in. I can then put in a date and I can add that in. I can then add multiple events. So it might be next is going to be a team visit. The next is going to be so on and so on. We keep adding to build out our timeline. The last piece of the puzzle that I'll show you in this screen is our comparable properties, a very important feature. Now, as I mentioned before, we have an integration into Price Finder as well as CoreLogic. So you choose. I just want to make it clear that if you're using CoreLogic, you must have a subscription in order to authenticate with the data. So here, what I can do is I can search a property. So if you know a home, perhaps it's sold 2 days ago, you can search that individualized property and pull the data from there. If you don't know exactly the homes you want, you can browse different categories. So we have many different categories. You can browse from your CRM, so a bit of social proof around what you have on the market, what's sold that you've currently have, or you can choose from the market. So from the market quite simply means what is from the data supplier. So I might say sold in the market. I can then add in filters. So a filter might be, what's the radius? So, okay, I only want to see properties 2 kilometers away. I might only want to see properties that have, more than 2 bedrooms. And I can continue to refine, and then I can sort by date or distance or price. I can hit browse, and this will now return a list of properties from my data supplier. Now, this usually takes, anywhere between 20 to 30 seconds because that's going to pull all that information. I can now view the information, and I can add in the ones that are relevant to me. So here I go and add them in, and then I can finish. Now this next step is really important, and for me this is something, it's about training, it's about education within your own business. When you're in the living room, when you're sending out a proposal, a pre-list, that is about you and your brand. It's about Belle Property. It's not an advertising or free marketing piece for one of your competitors. So if you see a property here that's pulled through with a watermark, an agent standing in front of a signboard, or anything that's not to do with the Belle Property brand, my recommendation is you swap this out. I want this to be all about Belle, and I don't want the vendor to see, oh, okay, looks like the local competitor has listed 2 of the 3 properties. So for example, I click on the property. Now noticing this one is a comparable for Belle, of course, let's pretend it's not. We can go here and swap out the image to something a bit more generic. So let's say a Google Maps image if you don't have something of that home. So that's just a bit of a recommendation there. I know it takes an extra 30 seconds, but remembering, this could be a commission from $10,000 to $60,000, so it's worth those extra 30 seconds. Other things we can do is we can update the data. So if it says price withheld, you might want to go and change the price if you know it. Once done, you say update, we say back to proposal, and finally, we say preview and edit. I click on this, and this will take me through to the presentation. Now, what we've learned from working with Belle Property over the last 3 to 4 years, when we launched this proposal, it was a bit more rigid. It was harder to customize, and in order to get that agent adoption, drive those office numbers in terms of the number of proposals, we needed to work on 2 things. Number 1, we needed to make sure it's easy to use. So what you're going to notice throughout this is it's very visual. So agents are very visual. You want to be able to see what you're changing along the way. And number 2 is that customization that I talked about in the beginning. You need to be able to work within your sales strategy and make it look how you want. So those 2 things have been changes that we've been making from the Belle Property Network's recommendation to us, and has really increased the number of proposals that are getting sent out. So as I scroll through this, noticing that I have these little dotted lines throughout. So if I click on those lines, I can make customization to the text as I go through. So in certain areas, if I want to change my cover letter, I can update it, I make a change, I hit the green tick, it's good to go. Or imagery. So noticing here it says change or upload. So this, you might look at this and go, well, that doesn't really represent my area. I need to make it local, and you might live in a beautiful coastal area. So you want to go and change those images. So if I click on here, I can go and upload an image, or I can search from a property, or I can even have an image library. So lots of options there. Now, key to understand is moving forward, this proposal will remember your previous settings, which means if you change the image to a nice, beautiful coastal area image, you don't have to update it each and every time. It's going to remember as you move forward. So it's nice and easy. The other part around the customization is as I scroll through, you'll notice on the left and right-hand side, I have these buttons that are up and down arrows. And quite simply, that gives me the ability to move sections up and down. And so if I'm an agent and I want to talk about price and commission up front, I can move that section up. Or if I want to talk about it not at all, I might want to disable that section. And so there I can completely disable it, which shows it doesn't show it for the vendor. So you have that ability to maneuver everything around. And again, this will save. So if you move your sales commission up top, moving forward, it will always be up top, because the reality is, these proposals are very similar each and every time you do it. Now, as I scroll through, I won't go into too much detail about each and every part, but I just want you to understand how to interact with this so you can learn about the proposal. So things like which buyers will love it. So quite simply, what are the types of buyers that are going to be looking to purchase this home? The ones you remove will not show to the vendor. So these little toggles will turn them off. And then it gives you the ability to customize the language as well, because we understand that sometimes in your area, the way you might describe a first home buyer is slightly different, it's slightly nuanced. And these are all the learnings from working with the Belle Property Network over the last few years. I'll keep scrolling through. We talk about suburb snapshot, we talk about track record, just understanding that you can update these, and moving forward, it will always pull your information. So I won't go into too much detail more now, but noticing also as I scroll through, I have things like custom fields, so like add a custom price, or I can turn off certain sections, and I also have a menu. So the menu is for the vendor, when they open up this presentation, they can click on a section and it'll straight away take them to where they want to be. And that's really important, is because the beauty about this being digital is they might think about it 2 days later and go, actually, what do they say about commission? Open it up, click on commission, there it is. It talks about it straight away. So they can refer back to it. And because it's digital, you can update it and then it's live. It's updated for them straight away. So this is really why it's so important to move into this digital space with this proposal tool. So that's enough of that. What I'll do now is I will download the PDF. And I just want everybody to understand that we build these 3 times. You don't need to worry about that, but we build it once for a computer like you're seeing today. We build it again for a mobile device, so if a vendor opens this up on their mobile. And thirdly, we build it for a print document. And you're going to notice that this will actually take about a minute or even 2, because it's recreating the entire proposal that you've been doing. So all of the changes, the sections moving around, the customization, the images, and it's making a print-ready document. And so now when I click download, it's going to be a file that's quite high quality, because we want to make it look really sharp when you download it. So noticing it's actually in landscape and everything's nicely laid out and it looks like a beautiful document. It doesn't look like an afterthought. So it doesn't matter what medium or device you're going to use, it's all going to look really, really sharp. Perfect. What I will do is I'll scroll back up. I will click the go back button, and I want to touch on the last piece of the puzzle before I move on, which is the insights. So as I mentioned before, probably the most important reason you need to move from a printed version and do these on every single touch point is because of the data and the insights that we can get for you and your business. Now we can track how many views it's had. We can track the total amount of time spent on the presentation. We can track how far they've read through the presentation. And the best thing that I hear from all of the clients is we can send an SMS every time a vendor opens up the presentation. So the key here is to understand that if someone opens it up 3 months later when they've told you, look, I'm not interested at this time, but we might come back on the market, you get that SMS, you straight away have that feedback that they're thinking about it again. You can pick up the phone, give them a call, touch base, and the number of times I've heard my clients say, hey, this has led to me successfully being the first agent in the door again and listing it that day. It's getting to that point where it's a no-brainer. And these are the keys why I'm very passionate about this product in the business, especially considering that part of the deal we've put together for Belle Property is there is no fee for it. It's just included because you use us for the campaign management side of the system. So last piece of the puzzle here is I'll hit share. I want to talk behind the client and the review link so there's no confusion. A review link is what you use internally. So when you want to look at it, when you want to look at what this is going to look like for your client, when you want to share it with your admin, your PA, someone in the team, another agent, whoever, you use the review link. When you want to send it to the client, that's the link here, the client link, because we are going to track the data. So I don't want you to get excited that it's been opened 15 times, but it's actually someone in your office. use the client link, and that will mean you know that the data is accurate and true. And noticing here we say SMS to agent. I want you to think about this in your business. It's something that I am passionate about in our business too, is using SMS is like a secret weapon. When you send out an email, the reality is a lot of people when they're working, they don't check their emails. They only check it at night time. They only, the open rates on emails are like 20%. The open rates on SMS are like 80, 90% and above. You want the instantaneous. Remember I talked about speed is the new currency. You want to send this to your client via SMS so they instantly open it up and you instantly get that feedback. And remember, if you're competing with 2 to 3 other agents and they don't have this, you could be the person who's in front of them hours before anybody else. And every time, if you can keep the speed up, they start to think about, well, this is what it's going to be like when you represent my home. You're going to be fast with the buyers. You're going to be fast with everything you do, and therefore give them the feeling that they give that extra confidence that you're the right person for the job. So here you can SMS this to yourself. Why do we make it to yourself? Because we want to, when you copy and forward this onto the vendor, we want it to come from you. I don't want you to send one from Realhub because that's this generic, they don't know who that is. I want this to come from you, Frank Grief, the agent, directly to your vendor as another touch point that they know, and you start getting, opening up those lines of communication through SMS to make them feel comfortable with you. So SMS to yourself and then forward it on. So hopefully I've driven that point home for you guys, but it is such a key element that you want to be bringing into your business. Last piece of the puzzle, and I know I've said that 3 times, so this time I promise not to lie, is we go to the section here called proposals, which is a holistic overview, and this will show us as either an office or an agent the different proposals that we've done. So when I say office, if you're an admin, you can see everything. If you're an agent, you can just see your own, and you're looking at the different averages. So noticing here on the right-hand side, I have number of proposal views. I have the average viewing time, the average read through, and this gives me that data across the whole office or across all of my proposals to see how am I tracking. So if we see low numbers like 3 minutes on average, it means the way we've shuffled our proposals are not optimal for our vendor. And the easiest way I can talk to you guys about this is if we talk too much about ourselves, our business, everything about us up front, and we talk about the vendor last, usually what we find is people will drop off, because the reality is everybody mostly cares. They want to know how you're going to help them, what you're going to benefit them, not so much about you. You can talk about that a little bit later. Or you might want to pepper in the case studies and social proof throughout, rather than making it big distinctions between us and you and I. So just something to think about there when you look at your insights over the time. So today, hopefully guys, that was, good enough detail for you to get started to understand why you need this in your business. We've worked so closely with the Belle Property Network over the last few years to refine and tweak, but we're always open to feedback. The beauty here is this is built to be organic. As the market changes, as things update, we can update these templates and they progressively get there. And if you remember, I touched on the idea of the digital strategy. Just understand that we then have more templates beyond that. So past your proposal, you might do a price update. So 3 months later, you were unsuccessful at this time, but 3 months later, you come back to them 6 months later, maybe. What is the value of your home today? That's another touch point that you might want to do. You quickly SMS that out to your client. So there's all these different templates here for your business. Please take a look. Please utilize this within your business. We want to see really strong growth in this area for the Belle Property Network. But thank you so much for your time today. Really hope you enjoy the system. Any feedback, please reach out. Thank you so much.